The mere fact that an 18-year-old is in the presence of a 13-year-old who had run away is not unlawful. But if there's any sexual activity, if there is any force or coercion, that could be kidnapping, that could be rape, that could be trafficking. That's the exposure that David has, setting aside the fact that she's now been found dead.
That's it. We got an address. There was a gunshot and a woman screamed. I'm serious. That's why we came up here like this, because and then they talked to the caller. Whoever they were talking to said that there's a person dead.
David is losing his mind because his own landlord has lost faith in the police, and he's now investigating David privately. The shocking death of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas has already turned into one of the most disturbing cases Los Angeles has seen in years. Her body was discovered inside a Tesla registered to rising singer David Burke. Since then, police have searched his Hollywood Hills mansion, seized evidence, and released almost nothing. Weeks later, there are still no charges, no suspects, and no updates, just silence. That silence has now pushed someone close to the case to take matters into his own hands. David's former landlord, Mladen Trifunovic, has officially hired a private investigator to probe Celeste's death independently. And while that may sound like an unusual move, it tells us one thing very clearly. People directly tied to this case are getting restless and maybe no longer trust the investigation. For over a month, the landlord says he's received no communication from the LAPD. Imagine being in his position. Your multi-million-dollar mansion suddenly becomes the center of a criminal probe. Your address is all over the news, your reputation questioned, and your property sealed off for evidence. And nobody is giving him any updates. That's what broke him. After watching his name get attached to a crime he had nothing to do with, Mladen decided to find answers himself. He wasn't doing this for attention or money. He did it because the official investigation looked like it had stalled, and the damage to his name wasn't going away anytime soon. The landlord has described the case as stalled and confusing. He said he wanted answers for his family and for Celeste's. And when someone who owns the crime scene starts doubting law enforcement, it says a lot about what might really be going on behind closed doors. There are three very clear reasons why the landlord made this move, and all of them are hard to argue with. Reason one, to protect his property. Every headline calls it the mansion tied to the David investigation. That kind of exposure destroys a property's value overnight. He's trying to clear his name, protect his investment, and prove that his home isn't part of some hidden crime network. Reason two, to bring justice faster. He's watched the investigation drag for weeks without answers. The death of a 14-year-old girl has turned into a waiting game, and he refuses to be one more silent witness. He's not trying to outshine the police. He's trying to push them to move. Reason three, suspicion. He hasn't said it directly, but it's written between every line of his statements. He suspects that there's more going on here, that maybe someone powerful is protecting someone else. And when the police stay quiet for this long, that theory doesn't sound impossible anymore. For David, this could be a nightmare he can't control. A police investigation is one thing. At least it follows procedures, timelines, and rules. But a private investigation is unpredictable. He can't even know what the investigator is looking for. Every day, that pressure grows heavier. His landlord isn't just hiring help, he's signaling to the world that it doesn't matter if David is innocent or not. What matters is that whoever the criminal is, they will be brought to light. Reports claim that David has been moving between different properties, changing routines, and keeping communication limited. Friends say he's withdrawn and anxious. And honestly, who wouldn't be? When the man who rented you a mansion now believes there's something the police missed, it's impossible to stay calm. The fear isn't just about guilt. It's about control. David has lost control of the story. He can't manage the narrative anymore. And for a celebrity, that's the beginning of the end. This raises a question. How much can the private investigator do? Well, quite a lot. They can track down maintenance workers, delivery drivers, and security footage owners who may have seen something. They can request entry logs, check rental records, and verify who was present at the mansion in the weeks before Celeste's death. They can talk to neighbors, staff, and even vendors who service the property. And more importantly, they can follow digital footprints. Things like Wi-Fi records, gate timestamps, or data transfers that happened while David was living there. If the investigator finds even one thing that doesn't match the official timeline, it could change everything. Because the moment an independent party discovers evidence the police ignored, the public trust collapses and the story becomes 10 times bigger. The investigator's findings could end up in the hands of Celeste's family, and if that happens, David might have a hard time proving his innocence. The most disturbing question is why this case feels frozen. The LAPD raided David's mansion, found Celeste's body in his car, and collected evidence. So why, after all that, is there still no movement? That's where the cover-up theory comes in. Online discussions are filled with speculation that David's connections may be shielding him. He's a rising star under a major label. He has corporate backing, investors, and contracts worth millions. If he's directly connected to a criminal investigation, that money disappears. Some believe the silence isn't accidental, it's protective, and that's exactly why the landlord's decision is being praised. He's doing what the police won't, asking hard questions about a case that seems to have been paused at the wrong moment. It's risky, but it's also bold and much needed, because if he finds something real, it could blow the lid off whatever's being kept quiet. In the beginning, David tried to play it cool and pretended everything was fine, but people close to him say that facade is fading fast. They describe him as restless, easily agitated, and obsessed with the investigation. David has even moved several of his assets into his mother's name, including 2 Texas properties. That alone made people question whether he was preparing to flee. Now, with this new development, it looks like he's trying to hold on to whatever sense of safety he has left. Because here's the truth, when you're being investigated by both law enforcement and your own landlord, paranoia becomes inevitable. Every message feels suspicious. Every headline feels personal. David isn't just being watched by the media anymore. He's being watched by someone who once trusted him enough to hand him the keys to a mansion. The public reaction has been ruthless. When the story about the private investigator broke, online forums exploded. Comments read, "Even his landlord doesn't trust him." Others said, "This whole thing smells like a cover-up." Every day that goes by without a police update fuels more suspicion. The landlord's move has effectively turned the spotlight back on David. What was once just a legal investigation has now become a psychological siege. Because the moment the person closest to your living space starts doubting your innocence, you lose every place that ever felt safe. The biggest reason this is so dangerous for David is that it's completely out of his control. Private investigators don't owe him updates, explanations, or courtesy. They don't need warrants to ask questions or track patterns. And most importantly, they don't care about protecting reputations. That's the opposite of how celebrity crises are usually handled. In Hollywood, everything is about damage control. Lawyers, PR teams, carefully worded statements. But this is real-world accountability, and it will be very difficult to spin it. The landlord's investigation represents a new phase, where optics no longer matter and silence no longer protects. For David, that's terrifying, because it means the truth might come out whether he's ready or not. People close to David say he's become increasingly withdrawn and unpredictable. Studio sessions have been canceled without explanation. Planned collaborations quietly dissolved, and his social media presence has almost vanished. He has allegedly changed phones frequently and avoids even trusted colleagues. Those who've worked with him describe a man who stopped thinking about music and started thinking about survival. The investigation was taking a long time, but the landlord has changed the game. He's turned frustration into action, and in doing so, he's exposed a truth about this entire case. When justice refuses to move, people start taking it personally. On paper, what the landlord is doing should actually work in David's favor. If David truly had nothing to do with Celeste's death, then a second investigation, especially one that isn't bound by police bureaucracy, could clear his name faster than the LAPD ever will. Think about it. The landlord isn't an enemy. He's an outsider trying to find the truth where the system has stalled. A clean investigation could uncover proof that David had no involvement at all. It could show where he was, what really happened, and who might actually be responsible. That's what every innocent person says they want: transparency. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. Is David actually happy about his landlord's move? He's withdrawn, quiet, and visibly anxious about the whole situation. If he's innocent, shouldn't he be cooperating? Shouldn't he be glad someone is finally looking deeper so the rumors can stop? It's a strange contradiction. A man who claims innocence but reacts like he's being hunted. And maybe that's what keeps people watching. Because if this investigation truly clears him, it would restore his career overnight. But if it doesn't, if it exposes something he didn't expect, it could end it forever. So, what do you think is going to happen next? Comment below and subscribe to the channel for more updates. See you guys in the next video.